and also just getting really hyped about the sequel to Sand, which is coming out in the next couple of months or few months, because we're working on cover art now and the art for the interiors, and I've seen the page layout. Traditional publishers are very slow to get anything out the door, but we're making progress and getting the final details together so we can release that.
That one's Across the Sand?
Across the Sand, yeah.
And that will be, do we have like a release window idea yet?
I imagine in the next 3 months or so. March, I'm hoping. It's killing me that it's like, if it comes out in March or April, it'll be almost a year after I finish writing it. And I'm used to readers being able to read stuff the day after I finish writing it. So this has been a painful delay, but it's the way the traditional publishing world works.
And that's going to be just the one volume, not broken up into a serial novel again.
Yeah, and that's just how it felt like it needed to be written too. So it worked out well. But I went back and reread it just last week because I got the page proofs and just wanted to make sure everything's flowing correctly, and kind of read the whole thing because I got sucked into it. And by the end, man, I'm just like so emotional. Not because of my professional attachment to the story and my history with the story, but just the story itself and the characters. And I was like, just bawling reading the last page. And that's when I was like, man, I am really glad I wrote this story, because it was in doubt for a while. Just loved the ending of Sand and think that it stands on its own, even with the cliffhanger, like by itself. And been working on so much other stuff, and then went sailing. And if it hadn't been for my agent kind of doing a deal without even asking me about it, I don't know that I would have written this when I did. It was the right time to write it. It just worked out perfectly.
And when you're moved at the, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, who else would that story be more perfectly suited to move if not you, right? We're all going to enjoy it, but I mean, it's you write for yourself, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. Especially when the writing flows really well, you start writing almost like you're the reader, like you're just pushing the story forward so you can see what happens next. Even if you know the plot, like you want to see the exact phrasings and how the characters are going to resolve certain conflicts and what little surprises are going to pop up. But I love when I'm so sucked into a story that I wake up like early in the morning and have to start writing immediately, and I'm writing late into the night, just the way I am with a book that I am hooked on.
And so I want to ask so many questions about what's going to happen in the sequel, and I know that I can't. So I'll ask instead about the launch. When you're partnered with a traditional publisher, I assume that changes how obviously you're launching it much later than you normally would, but presumably they're going to take care of a whole lot of stuff that you won't have to worry about. And you'll have a publicist or somebody that sets up some launch events that you'll be attending, or what does that look like now on this side where it's no longer just you at home hitting publish on Kindle? You've got a whole team behind you.
It's a good question. I've done like relaunches with publishers where they send me out and do promotional stuff, but it's interesting these days. Often the publishers are asking authors, like, what can you do for marketing for us? Like, how big is your social media platform, and can you do some blogging? And like they rely on their authors quite a bit, which I think is surprising to new authors doing deals with publishers, how much is expected for them to do on their own. The pandemic might change like some of the promotional stuff, like, hopefully by the spring we'll be doing bookstore events and things like that. And then every book is different. What the publisher can't send every author on a book tour or book signing, so they have to figure out which ones are going to sell well enough. And then I think sequels also have their own kind of challenges where how much do you spend to market something that most of the audience is people who are going to buy it anyway because they like the first one, or not going to buy it because they haven't read the first one. Yeah, so I have no idea yet what they're planning on doing, but hopefully the reason I would say, when you look at what the advance on a book is and how much a publisher is paying for it, the first consideration is like, how much money is it? Because it's, going to pay the bills and change my life in that way. But the second reason you look at the size of the advance is because it's a signal for how much marketing the publisher is going to do in order to recoup their money. So they paid a lot of money for this book, and that makes me hope that they are willing to also spend to recoup it. Then the final consideration with this book is that I did this deal with Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, and between when I turned it in and when it's getting published, HMH was bought by HarperCollins, so it's a new publisher. And for all I know, like, they're looking at this and they're not excited about it at all, and they're it'll come out with very little marketing push from them. It'll be up to me to sell the book, or there's someone there who is so excited that when they bought HMH, they got all my books and now they get to promote them. So that's how confusing traditional publishing is. By the time the book comes out, you're often working with a different editor than the one you started with. With self-publishing, it's it's your baby, and you can control the price point and all the publicity and marketing, and no one in your camp is going to stop caring about the success of that book. So it's a lot more consistent. Traditional publishing's absolute circus.
Well, that raises an interesting question, because I would think at this point, all the marketing you really need to do is, hey, Hugh Howey has a new book. Just a tweet should suffice. And we fans are going to go and buy our copy. So at this point, obviously you've got enough going on with your Hollywood stuff and with everything else that you're doing, that it might be nice to have a traditional publisher worrying about some of those things you're not going to have to personally oversee. But you've been on the bestseller list enough times now, and consistently ranked toward the top on Amazon, that I would, from the outside, assume that paying your rent is not as much of a concern for you as it would be for other writers who are just getting started. What is the advantage of going with a traditional publisher versus publishing on your own and doing it how you want?
Yeah, that's a really good question. When I started writing, my whole life as a reader leading up to my career as a writer, traditional publishers are where you went in order to make a living, and self-publishing was what you did as a last resort. But when I wrote my first book around 2009 or so, everything was changing, to the point that for most of my career, self-publishing was what you did to earn a better income, and traditional publishing was what you would do in order to kind of like experiment, or like in a little bit of vanity sense, have your book in bookstores or go on a book tour and just experience something a little bit different. And what's, I think, changed for me is that the people who want to read my books are going to be able to get them no matter what. So the small fan base that I have that will read pretty much anything that comes out are not impacted by how I publish. But with a traditional publisher, there's a chance of getting in some readers that I wouldn't have gotten self-publishing. So it's been kind of a circuitous route to get to where I am, where I can traditionally publish and know that I'll probably make less money, but probably reach readers that I would not reach if I just continue to self-publish. So that's the primary consideration. We started doing some deals with publishers just as an experiment, and the main difference was having a constant presence in bookstores, doing self-publishing deals, bookstores. it's very complicated, but bookstores have this ability to get their money back for all the books that they have in their store almost whenever they want. So having worked in bookstores, I used to have to do this as well. Like you just go through and you pull all the books that didn't sell that you've had for at least 6 months or so, and you box them up and you ship them back to the publisher, and you get all your money back minus the shipping. And the ability to return books to major publishers makes it very difficult for bookstores to carry books by self-published authors, because if it doesn't sell, they're stuck with it, and bookstores do not like that. And that's been the biggest difference is if I self-publish, I'll continue to, I make 70% rather than 15%. So I do a lot better financially, but there's some segment of the reading population that I won't penetrate. And about 6 or 7 years ago, I got to the point financially where I didn't have to worry about making every decision to maximize my income, and I could start trying to maximize my business relationships and my the types of readers that I can lure in and things like that. And as soon as I got to that point where I could be a little more experimental, I started having a lot of fun doing different kinds of deals with different entities. And I also have one of the best agents in the world. So all my publishing deals all have time limits on them. So we'll do a deal and it's like for 5 years, and then I get all the rights back, which I don't know. I don't have any other writing friends who get deals like that. And the reason we're able to get them is because if we don't get them, we'll just self-publish and leave the publisher out of the deal altogether. And that's an advantage. It's an advantage when your publisher gets bought by another publishing company. HarperCollins has all these contracts they have the Wool series, they have Sand and the sequel, they have Machine Learning, Beacon 23. Every one of those books has a date that we get all the rights back. And that changes the dynamic. HarperCollins either needs to step up and show they support me so that we can continue doing business together, or if they disappoint us in any way, then when we get the rights back, we can go to Random House, or we can self-publish, we can do whatever we want. That's a huge advantage.
And the agent, by the way, is Kristen Nelson, correct?
Yeah, Kristen Nelson. She's amazing because she's willing to say no to deals that I think most agents would jump at because she knows she can get a better deal.
And I saw she's repping Josh Malerman also, right?
Yep. Yeah. And yeah, she's got a great stable of writers, but Josh has been he's incredible. He's such an amazing writer. The quality of his writing, but he's also so prolific. That guy writes he's written so many books that he just kind of sets aside and doesn't know what he's going to do with yet. But he's a fantastic writer and an amazing human being as well.